Hi guys, I'm DM Scotty. Welcome to DM's Craft. Good to have you with me. I had done a video about a Dwarven fortress I was working on that it was going to be my final boss fight for my campaign, and the players were building up to this. And I showed you kind of the initial idea that I had, how I started the germ of my idea. Well, now I want to show you how I kind of evolved the idea from that germ. So hopefully this will help other DMs when they think about their games and they think about how they're going to expand the information. You want to go. It's nice to go with a theme for a dungeon. Other DMs have talked about this, but sometimes they don't talk about the creative process. So I thought I would do this second part to that video, and we'll get to it now. So last time I talked about the old Dwarven fortress, and we were talking about there's basically two entry points and then two ways to get to the boss room. So after you have this idea, this initial idea, you need to solidify it, of course, as far as what you're going to do, because you need to know what you're going to make. So then I start doing sketches. So I decided that I'm going to have the characters come in through the sewer into the prison, and once they defeat the guards and if they want to release the prisoners, they'll come out the hallway, and then there's basically two ways to go. There's a way that has caves and a way that has the rooms and corridors. So I'm going to build two whole separate areas. So it can be a lot of work, but remember that if you build them, you could use them, and you don't use one or the other, you could use them for other adventures. And it's just cardboard, so it just takes some time. So you want to give yourself plenty of time for something like this. So for the rooms and corridors, I kind of have a mess written here. So this is just an initial sketch, and then I just have all my crazy notes all over the side. So basically they'll come into a guard room that goes off to three different paths. One door from the guard room is blocked by rubble. This one actually has a trap door, or a trick door. It kind of looks like a secret door, so it might fool the player characters, but it dumps the person that comes here into this room, and there's basically an owlbear that's in this room, and it's going to be pitch black in this room. So the person's going to be dumped into this pitch black room and hear these growling and not know what the heck's going on, and then the other players will have to try to get the door open. So it could be pretty harrowing for the poor player character that gets bumped into there. Then I was going to have a ogre training room next to it, and if they hear the owlbear, they'll open these murder holes and kind of watch the action. And if the poor player doesn't have a light source, then at least some light will be coming in from the holes. Then the other way here is a room that has Dwarven statues in it. And I did a video not long ago about the Dwarven statues, and I talk about that. So I'm going to try to show all the stuff that I've made in upcoming videos. Then the players will have several ways to go. If they try to escape from the owlbear part, it's blocked off, they can't. This down here will be a kitchen, so I was going to have some ogres and mites manning the kitchen, and just some fun, a fun little encounter where the ogre might throw hot stew on them, and the mites will just be an annoyance. And then this way will be blocked, but if the players look carefully enough, they can actually see they can get through. And I've got this was kind of like a place with a large chimney, and it collapsed, and there's some manticores that have nested in here, and basically they don't interact with any of the other Desians of this part, but they're nested here, and there's a few manticore children, and if the players attack them, then the adults will come down and attack. But this is blocked off. The exit to that room is blocked off, but there is a chute or a chimney that they could crawl into the kitchen and maybe surprise the cooks. And then this room here was going to be an alchemical storage, where there is a there's some monsters that were giving them alchemical fire that they use for these like cannon-like things they have, and the players could actually blow that up and just collapse this whole section. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. And then, so then that's that section, and then I have the cavern section. So I basically got two parts. They'll come in and there'll be three different routes. There'll be one that goes up, and there's a puzzle here where they can get some treasure, and I'll show that in a later video. Then there's a way that goes down into a large grotto cavern that they have to go across this bridge. It's a stone bridge about 20 feet in the air above the grotto. And then there's a way that goes down to where the grotto is, and there's a boat down there. But the boat's rotten. If they step on it, they'll just fall right through it. And then there's some other junk down here, and they can search. There's really nothing of value. If they solve the puzzle, there's kind of an outcropping balcony that has a cable car on it. And I've shown how I've done the cable cars in the past, and I'm going to use one of those. So the cable car will go directly from the balcony to the other side. Well, in the center here, I'm going to have a dwarven cannon that's like a construct, and we'll start shooting at people. So if they come down from the cable car, it'll start shooting at the cable car, and they'll have to hang on for dear life to not fall out, and take some residual damage from the lightning bolt attack. If they go across the bridge, I've got a little nasty surprise down there. About near the end, I have a roper that's hanging underneath the bridge, and it will attack them as soon as they get across. Now, when someone gets near the door, there's a portcullis that will fall down, and they'll have to get by that and get that open and get by either the cannon or the roper. When we played this out, they ended up taking the cavern way, and the roper gave them a lot of problem. It was a lot of fun. Just how hard this thing was, because it kept grabbing them and crawling under the bridge, and it was hard for them to see it and everything. And so it was just a lot of fun, and they just had a lot of problem with the door. Like they kept failing checks. I had the door, the portcullis, someone pretty easily got through it by using a teleport, but the lever on the other side was rusted, so they had to keep making strength checks to try to open it, and they could just barely budge it, and they had a real hard time opening it. So they had to fight this roper. It was a lot of fun. So they ended up getting through there. And then I've got a second part to the cavern area. This way. It comes down, and I have a Gorgaar pit, and there's a way to skirt around it, a very narrow edge. But they got to be careful, because the Gorgaars might start, making noise. The Gorgaars are basically like the ogre's pets. They're kind of like their hound-like pets. So if the Gorgaars start making too much noise, there's a grate there that the ogres will come look, and if the players are in a bad position or something like that, the ogre may see them. Well, the ogre can't get up. Excuse me. But they'll basically do an ambush. They'll know they'll go through this to this. There's a puzzle room I have here, which the ogres never tried to get into, and the ogres will attack them when they come out. So my players did pretty good. They didn't alert the ogres or anything. They get to this room. I made another puzzle room. I use this kind of fortress to have a chance to use some puzzles and riddles, because I don't often use those, but some dungeons can be more appropriate for it, and others can't, so you don't want to just throw one in just where it's not appropriate. But this seemed fun, and I did that. So they managed to get through that. I had an interesting puzzle, and I'll probably show that at some point. So they end up going out to the main passage, and the ogres weren't alerted. So basically what happened was, whatever way you took, you would end up at the same point. So if you went through the cavern part, you would end up, I had a room here that was like a bestiary, and they had there were ogres with cages, and they had there were a couple drakes, and there were a couple of groups of Gorgaar and a couple ogre beast handlers. If somehow the players alerted them, they'd be out in the hall ready for them, but they didn't, because if they went to the room section and blew up the alchemical fire, of course, then the ogres would be ready for them. But the way they came through the caves and everything, they didn't make any noise, so they were able to come in on the ogres. So when they got in here, the ogres attacked and released all the animals. And I had them do a check, and they realized that the Gorgaar and the drakes don't get along very well. They were in separate cages. So, that was kind of an interesting thing. So one of the players ended up wrestling one of the Gorgaar and throwing it at a drake, and then the two ended up fighting each other. So there was some of that going on in the encounter, and that always makes for fun. When you add little stuff like that, the players can do little tricks like that. It makes the encounter fun than just beating the snot out of something. It makes it more interesting. So they got through that and finally got to the boss, and I had the boss room. Here I've got it, they come in this way and I've got it sideways. In reality, what I did was I made it long ways, so they came in here instead. But I had a throne at the end, and I had some pillars in the room, and it was a really fun fight, and the players really enjoyed it. So that's how I've kind of fleshed it out. So what you want to do is kind of get a rough idea what you want to do, like I did with the first paper. Like I knew I wanted two separate ways. I knew there was going to be a boss room with the final fight. I had a prison and a front gate, which they could go through either way. The front gate was much harder. Then I started, filling it in with other drawing roughs, and then drawing lots of notes of like what kind of things I wanted to change or add. And then you could do this on graph paper. I didn't, but you could do it on graph paper if it's more comfortable for you to do that. But just scratch out what you're going to do, and then just start working on it. So that's how I kind of solidify my ideas as far as like what I'm going to make for tiles. Oh, and here was the front of the here's the front castle. Like this was inside the hill. It was a rather large hill that the fortress is in. It was in the side of the hill. It had a rocky outcropping above it. So the players could try to get through this fortress part, which they never did. And I had another fortress that I had used, a part of a fortress that I had used for another game, so I just used that. I didn't even have to make it. And they never went that way, so I didn't have to worry about it. But so that's a good way to kind of solidify your idea, and then you can start working on it physically for what you need to build by building tiles. So I hope this helps to kind of get the creative process of thinking about a dungeon. And I'll see you next time on the DM's Craft.